The Rise and Fall of the Achaemenid Empire, Chapter 1. The Birth of the Achaemenid Dynasty. The Achaemenid Empire traces its origins back to the early days of the Persian tribes in the region known today as Iran. The dynasty was founded by Achaemenes, but it was his descendant, Cyrus the Great, who would elevate the Persians to imperial status. By the mid-6th century BC, Cyrus, the king of Anshan, united the various Persian and Median tribes under his leadership. His military genius and diplomatic skills laid the foundation for one of the most expansive empires in history. In 550 BC, Cyrus overthrew the Median king, Astyages, and established the Achaemenid Empire, which would grow to stretch from the Indus Valley to the edges of Greece. The Achaemenid dynasty would go on to rule much of the ancient world for over 2 centuries. Chapter 2. Cyrus the Great and the Conquest of the Known World. Cyrus the Great's reign was marked by remarkable military successes and visionary leadership. After the conquest of Media in 550 BC, Cyrus turned his attention to the Lydian Empire and the Babylonian Empire. His most famous victory came with the fall of Babylon in 539 BC, a peaceful conquest that led to the incorporation of Mesopotamia into his empire. Cyrus' policy of tolerance and respect for local customs and religions earned him admiration across the ancient world, including from the Jews, whom he allowed to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. By the time of his death in 530 BC, Cyrus had forged an empire that spanned 3 continents and contained a diverse array of peoples, cultures, and religions. His legacy as a wise and just ruler laid the groundwork for the prosperity of the Achaemenid Empire. Chapter 3. Cambyses II and the expansion into Egypt. Cyrus's son. Cambyses II succeeded him in 530 BC and quickly expanded the empire further. His most significant conquest was the annexation of Egypt in 525 BC, after the Battle of Pelusium, marking the last great independent kingdom in the region to fall to the Persians. Cambyses' rule in Egypt, however, was marked by cruelty and mismanagement, including religious intolerance towards the Egyptian priesthood. This sparked unrest in Egypt, and Cambyses' rule was abruptly ended when he died under mysterious circumstances in 522 BC. His death precipitated a brief period of instability, during which the Persian Empire teetered on the brink of collapse. Chapter 4. The Reign of Darius I and the Consolidation of Power. Darius I, also known as Darius the Great, ascended to the throne in 522 BC, after overcoming a series of challenges to his rule, including a rebellion in Persia and an impostor claiming to be a son of Cyrus. Upon securing his position, Darius set about consolidating power and expanding the empire even further. He reorganized the vast territories into provinces known as satrap or provincial governor, and established a centralized administrative system. Darius also launched a series of military campaigns, including an invasion of India, and further strengthened Persia's hold over Egypt. His reign saw the construction of the royal city of Persepolis, which became a symbol of Achaemenid power. Darius' reign marked the height of the Achaemenid Empire, and Persia became the largest and most powerful empire the world had ever seen at that time. Chapter 5. The Greco-Persian Wars and the Clash with Greece. While Darius I was expanding the empire in the east, Persia began to clash with the Greek city-states in the west. The tensions culminated in the Ionian Revolt, where Greek cities in Asia Minor rebelled against Persian rule. Darius sought to punish the Greeks for their support of the revolt, and in 490 BC, he launched an invasion of Greece, culminating in the Battle of Marathon. Despite being vastly outnumbered, the Greeks achieved a stunning victory. Darius' plan to conquer Greece was delayed, and the conflict would continue to shape the relationship between Persia and the Greek world. After Darius' death in 486 BC, his son Xerxes I inherited the throne and resumed a campaign against Greece. Chapter 6. Xerxes I and the Second Invasion of Greece. Xerxes I, the son of Darius I, continued his father's ambition to expand Persian influence in Greece. In 480 BC, he launched a massive invasion of Greece, gathering a vast army and navy. The invasion culminated in the famous battles of Thermopylae, Salamis, and Plataea. The Persian forces, despite their numerical superiority, suffered heavy losses at the Battle of Salamis, where the Greek navy, using superior tactics, decisively defeated the Persian fleet. The Greek city-states, united by the threat of Persian domination, were able to repel Xerxes' invasion. The defeat marked the beginning of the decline of Persian ambitions in Greece, though the Achaemenid Empire continued to hold power in Asia Minor and Egypt. Chapter 7: Decline under Artaxerxes I and Political Instability. Following Xerxes' death, his successors, including Artaxerxes I, faced increasing challenges both at home and abroad. Although Artaxerxes maintained control over the core territories of the empire, the central authority of the Achaemenid dynasty began to weaken. The empire faced increasing political instability, with internal rebellions and the rise of powerful satraps challenging the central government. Furthermore, the empire's costly wars with Greece, including the continuing conflict known as the Greco-Persian Wars, drained resources. Persia's influence in the Aegean and Mediterranean continued to wane as Greek city-states, most notably Sparta and Athens, consolidated their power. Despite several efforts to maintain Persian dominance, Artaxerxes' reign did little to address the empire's internal challenges. Chapter 8: The Decline of the Achaemenid Empire. By the late 5th and early 4th centuries BC, the Achaemenid Empire's influence continued to erode. Internal corruption, economic difficulties, and power struggles between various factions within the empire created an unstable political environment. Persia's inability to control the Greek city-states and defend its western territories from incursions further strained its resources. Additionally, the Persian Empire faced growing threats from the east, including nomadic invasions by the Scythians. The empire's slow decline culminated in the rise of Macedon under King Philip II, and later his son, Alexander the Great. Alexander's campaign would mark the beginning of the end for the Achaemenid Empire. Chapter 9: The Conquest of the Achaemenid Empire by Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great's invasion of Persia in 334 BC proved to be the final blow to the Achaemenid Empire. Starting with the Battle of Granicus, Alexander's forces systematically defeated the Persian army in a series of decisive engagements, including the battles of Issus and Gaugamela. Despite the Persian king Darius III's efforts to defend his empire, he was eventually defeated and forced to flee. In 330 BC, Alexander captured the Persian capital of Persepolis and burned it to the ground, symbolizing the fall of the Achaemenid dynasty. Darius III was murdered by his own men, and the once mighty empire was effectively extinguished. Alexander's conquest brought the entire Achaemenid Empire under his control, marking the end of one of the greatest empires in history. Chapter 10: The Legacy of the Achaemenid Empire. Although the Achaemenid Empire was ultimately defeated by Alexander the Great, its legacy lived on for centuries. The empire's administration, infrastructure, and cultural influence continued to shape the region long after its fall. The idea of centralized rule through satrapies influenced later empires, including the Seleucid Empire and the Parthian Empire. The Achaemenids also promoted religious tolerance and administrative efficiency, principles that would influence future civilizations. Moreover, the Achaemenid Empire's contribution to art, architecture, and governance left a lasting mark on the ancient world. From the construction of monumental buildings like Persepolis to the preservation of Persian culture and ideas, the Achaemenid Empire, despite its fall, set the stage for many future empires and remains a defining civilization in the history of the ancient world. If you've made it this far, why not like the video and also subscribe to my channel for more? It helps me out a lot, and I would appreciate you so much for doing so. Until next time.